A corroded lump of bronze sat in a museum storeroom in Athens for almost a year. No one examined it. No one thought it mattered. It had come up from a shipwreck, just another piece of sea debris, ugly and broken. Then the object cracked, and inside were gears. Not rough gears, not decorative gears. Tiny, precise bronze gears, coin-sized, cut to specifications that should not have existed. This is the story of the most sophisticated machine ever recovered from the ancient world. A machine that was lost for 2,000 years, almost thrown away, and then took another century to fully understand. A machine that still has not been fully explained. And a machine whose very existence raises a question that researchers have never satisfactorily answered. If someone built this once, why did it take 1,400 years for anything like it to appear again? The year was 1900. A small boat of sponge divers from the Greek island of Symi was sailing toward the North African coast when a storm pushed them off course. They sheltered near Antikythera, a small island between Crete and the mainland, and while they waited, their captain, Dimitrios Kontos, sent his men down. At 45 meters, wearing canvas suits and copper helmets, they had only minutes on the seafloor. One diver surfaced holding a bronze arm, life-sized, broken from a statue. Kontos reported the discovery to the Greek government. A Navy gunboat arrived. What followed was one of the earliest major underwater salvage operations in history. 10 months long, dangerous enough to paralyze 2 divers and kill a third. They brought up bronze statues, marble figures, pottery, coins, glassware. And among all of it, almost unnoticed, a corroded lump of bronze and wood, roughly the size of a shoebox, that no one could identify. It was placed in a storeroom at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens with everything else. It was not celebrated. It did not look like it deserved to be. Until May 17, 1902. An archaeologist named Valerios Stias was working through the stored materials when he noticed a gear wheel protruding from the corroded surface. Small, precise, toothed, with Greek letters nearby. Stias published his observation. This appeared to be some kind of astronomical clock. The academic community disagreed. Precision gearing like this was impossible in the ancient world. The dominant theory was contamination. Something from a more recent shipwreck had somehow settled on top of the ancient cargo. The mechanism was set aside. Then, months after it had first been retrieved, the object cracked further. And inside, visible for the first time, were more gears. Coin-sized, precise, undeniably ancient. The strangest machine ever pulled from the sea had been found, questioned, doubted, and was about to be forgotten a second time. For the next 50 years, it mostly sat in silence. But silence is not the same as absence. The machine was waiting. The silence broke in 1951, when a British historian of science named Derek de Solla Price encountered the fragments in Athens. Price was not an archaeologist. He was a physicist turned historian, and what he saw in those corroded pieces refused to leave him alone. If the gears were genuinely ancient, then the history of technology had a chapter that had been torn out. He spent 2 decades on the problem. In 1971, working with Greek nuclear physicist Charalampos Karakalos, he made the first X-ray and gamma-ray images of all 82 surviving fragments. For the first time, researchers could see past the corrosion and into the metal. What they found was not one gear. It was a system. Price identified 30 gears, reconstructed a gear train, and in 1974 published his full analysis. His conclusion? This was a calendar computer, a hand-powered mechanical device built to calculate and display astronomical information through interlocking bronze gears. Price described the experience as being like opening the tomb of Tutankhamun and finding an atomic bomb inside. But Price had been working from surfaces, from photographs, from early X-ray images, from fragments warped by 2,000 years under seawater. The full machine was still buried inside the metal. That changed in 2005, when an international research team brought a high-powered, three-dimensional X-ray computed tomography system to Athens, the kind of technology used to inspect aircraft engine components. They pointed it at the Antikythera fragments. The object began to speak. Hidden gear teeth appeared inside what looked like solid rock. Inscriptions emerged from surfaces no human eye could read. Thousands of tiny Greek characters, sealed inside the mechanism for 2 millennia, came back into view. The machine had instructions. Text was engraved directly onto the casing, not just a calculator, but an instrument meant to be used, read, turned, and understood by someone. What the scans revealed was an ambition that took the breath out of researchers. At least 30 bronze gears, and almost certainly more in the missing sections, working together to track the sun, the moon, lunar phases, eclipse cycles, calendar cycles, the positions of the 5 planets known to ancient Greek astronomers, and even the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. Turn a crank on the side, and time moved forward. One face displayed a model of the moving heavens. The back carried spiral dials, one for the 19-year cycle that reconciled lunar and solar calendars, another for the 223-month Saros cycle used to predict eclipses. All of it inside a wooden box you could carry under one arm. That is when the question changed. For 100 years, researchers had been asking, what is this thing? Now they had a clearer answer. But the clearer that answer became, the louder a different question grew, one that no amount of CT scanning has been able to resolve. In March 2021, researchers at University College London published a new reconstruction of the mechanism in Scientific Reports, the first model that accounted for all the surviving physical evidence and every inscription on the fragments. What they described was not just a calculator, it was a mechanical model of the cosmos. The front display represented the sun, the moon, and all 5 planets known to ancient Greek astronomy moving across a zodiac dial. Each planet had its own gear train, its own calculated orbital motion, its own solution to a problem astronomers had struggled with for centuries. The engineering challenge was not metaphorical genius, it was practical genius, measured, cut, assembled, designed so that one person could turn a handle and watch the sky move in bronze. The team's own description of the result, a beautiful conception, translated by superb engineering into a device of genius that challenges all our preconceptions about the technological capabilities of the ancient Greeks. And here is what makes the Antikythera mechanism genuinely strange, not conspiracy strange, historically strange. Nothing of comparable mechanical complexity survives from any civilization for the next 1,400 years. The next time machinery of equivalent ambition appears in the historical record is in 14th century Europe in the form of astronomical clocks. 13 centuries of silence. That gap is the real mystery, not whether ancient people were smart enough. The mechanism proves they were. The question is what happened to the tradition that made it possible? Where are the earlier versions? A device this refined was almost certainly not a first attempt. The engineering is too settled, too solved, to represent someone's initial try. Predecessors existed. So did the tools. So did the knowledge. Part of the answer is bronze. Bronze does not sit quietly in the world. It gets melted down and recast, turned into weapons, coins, tools, and anything else people needed more than old instruments. Every functional bronze device that was not lost was eventually recycled. The Antikythera mechanism survived for one reason: it sank. A ship went down in the right water, at the right depth, and the sea sealed the machine in corrosion and darkness for 2,000 years. Other similar devices almost certainly existed. The sea did not keep them. We still do not know who built it. The inscriptions point toward roads. The astronomical parameters encoded in the gearing connect to traditions associated with the Greek astronomer Hipparchus, who worked on roads in the 2nd century BC. The language and dialect offer hints, but no name. Derek de Sola Price called the maker an anonymous mechanician of roads. That may be as close as we ever get. No portrait, no workshop, no note that says, "I made this." Just 82 fragments in a museum in Athens, and the plain documented fact that someone, 21 centuries ago, looked at the sky and decided to build it in bronze. Took cycles too large for a lifetime, movements too distant to touch, patterns written across the heavens, and translated them into gear teeth small enough to fit in the palm of a hand. His name is gone. His tradition nearly vanished. The machine almost disappeared with it. The miracle is not that it was ahead of its time. That framing makes the ancient world smaller than it was. The miracle is simpler than that. Someone built the cosmos in bronze. Everyone forgot it was possible. And 2,000 years later, a broken lump from the bottom of the sea cracked open and reminded us what human hands had already done.